All right, welcome to an episode of Tribalization in America. And if you were listening or watching our last episode, we left it off with the topic of this episode centers around information venues and the manner in which people, tribes, surround themselves with outside information and the impact on their tribe. So, Argyle, you had left us waiting to hear some third-party documentation that you had regarding the survey and viewership, in specifically some information channels that we can discuss. But
I think I was contending that there are certain information sources that actually lower your IQ, and how some tribes choose to have just one information source, right?
That's a huge concern, and everybody out there, no matter where you stand, whatever your tribe is, you need to diversify your information sources.
Right.
I don't care what your stance is on anything. You can't rely on a single information source and call that the truth.
Right. It's kind of like going to the third grade your entire academic career, right? Same teacher, same classes, same
message,
right? Same books, year after year after year, right? And I guess some of us are actually guilty of that. I know that there's a particular news source that I'm fond of. I will readily admit that I'm fond of. But just, in some of our conversations over the course of a couple of years, I decided to diversify. So I watch them all. But invariably, when I watch them all, I get frustrated because I see that one doesn't really cover the news, I guess.
And
I'm concerned about that group because that is clearly a tribe.
Yes.
And they are locked into this information source. And they use it like a weapon. Like they use that news channel like a weapon, and they're masters at it. Like they are masters at the message and the messaging in this.
They don't have dumb people running that business.
No, they're actually brilliant. Like, as much as I hate to say it, the people that run that particular news organization are brilliant, and they stick to the same basic 3 or 4 messages, and it's like red meat for their constituents. And the unfortunate thing is that in some respects seems to manipulate political opinion, and shapes elections, which shapes our nation. And so it's very, very interesting to watch. So
also, yes, I agree with everything you said, but the troubling side of that, from my perspective, really has generated this podcast, because it separates and does tribalize America, because it starts setting up camps, setting up tribes. And if you're going to spread a message of fear and anger, it's going to be directed at other tribes. It just makes sense. I mean, where else are you going to direct it?
Right.
And that's definitely problematic. I've actually seen some businesses, information services, try to come to the table and mitigate that, because they also recognize that the diversity and the polarization is actually a business opportunity to come in the middle and try to almost unify and fill that gap. Now, how successful they're going to be is going to be very interesting, because, like you said, there's a number of people, a number of tribes that listen to a single information source, and they're happy with doing that. even
Yeah.
though it puts them on a, theoretical island, and and also distance themselves from other tribes,
Yeah.
and almost intentionally.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I don't know if you remember Glenn Beck, who was a real popular conservative
Yeah,
show
I
host.
do. I don't think I ever had seen any of his material, but he had a show, right?
He had a radio program, he
Okay.
was kind of like, I mean, he and Rush Limbaugh were like the voice of,
Oh,
particular
okay.
part of the country. Glenn Beck was interesting because he was often just slightly right of center. And occasionally he went far right, but he was just enough to make it so that you didn't have to believe, in everything that he said or agree with everything he said in order to listen to him. Invariably, he would say something that would just make me angry.
Okay.
But he was making, I think, $40 million a year, his production company, on this show, and so clearly it's a giant money grab. Like, if that,
Yeah.
find a niche market and get them to tune in every day for 300, and
And advertisers will pay.
yeah, they'll pay money. But I saw him after he retired, once his bank account was fat, and
Yeah.
actually said that he felt bad about, you know, contributing to the division in America, because he realizes that his show, which spewed that rhetoric every day and those talking points every day to that tribe, helped divide America. He apologized. He said he felt bad about it. Now, he didn't write any checks back, right? He didn't give me any of the money back, right? But he was like, man, I probably should not have had such a divisive show.
Mm.
But to that end, there are people that are in the tribe that believe that all of that stuff is true, and there are people that are manipulating the tribe or getting rich off the tribe who know that that's exactly what they're doing. And I guess that's the part about it that upsets me, is that
Well, and everything from, again, we are taking this tribalization in America from our perspectives, from what we view, what we
right,
see. We're not trying to project from a different angle. So there's a lot of different perspectives out there, and we're hoping to include those, honestly, in the near future. But that being said, you gotta, if you're an adult and you're going to say that, yes, this is what I believe and this is the truth, and you're not making an effort to verify, validate that that's that trust but verify type of mentality, you got to take ownership of that as well. I
right,
mean,
right.
you can't say, oh, I blame it on him because he led me through this path of it's like when I was a kid. Well, why'd you do it? Well, my friends were doing it. If they jumped off a cliff, would you jump off
Would
a
you jump
cliff?
off cliff? Yeah. And you
Thanks,
know what?
Mom.
I know you probably wouldn't have. And I know I wouldn't have, which is
Right,
probably why we're not in any of these crazy tribes. Because we're
right.
talking about tribes now, because I'd have been like, I'm not jumping off a cliff. That's stupid. Like, right. And you would have been standing right next to me, be like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
stupid.
no.
I'm not doing that.
but
We
I'll
might
watch.
have,
But I'll watch them do it.
that's what I was getting ready to say. I was like, we might have pushed a couple, right? Right. There's no way we were jumping off of that cliff. So let me ask you a question.
Oh, wait, your audio jacked up for a second.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So when I look at this study, there are a number of studies out there
Mm-hmm.
about different news sources and different news organizations. One of the studies said that watching a particular news organization or news outlet actually lowers your IQ, because they're feeding you such bad information that you're actually less intelligent on questions about what's happening in America domestically and what's happening internationally. So I guess my question for you then is, and again, we've always couched this by saying we're not sociologists, but that's clearly protected by the First Amendment, right? But is that okay? Right? I mean, because it does, I mean, to go back to your original point, it does contribute to, us being in separate tribes. And is there something that we should do to force people to tell the truth if they have FCC licenses?
Right. Yeah. And see, there's now that you threw the whole FCC thing into it, for me makes a different conversation, because just because technology has evolved and there's easier access to all kinds of points of view that you can access, I don't think that needs to be policed. I think, again, I'm going to go back to, you need to be a grown-up at some point in time and take responsibility for what you're saying is true and not. What is, actual fact and what isn't fact. And if you're not to do your research, I know that we actually all suffer as a society because we have tribalization. But from an FCC licensing perspective, I don't believe that there has to be a bar where, similar to advertising, you can't sell snake oil in this country, right?
Right.
So it has to be along those lines. You have to be able to back up what you're saying is fact with facts.
Right. And see, here's the challenge there, because depending on which political party you're in and political ideology, there are people that are in that tribe really don't believe in the federal government anyway, or that the federal government should have much power anyway, which kind of supports that, keep the federal government out of my business, keep the federal government out of my life. And that's FCC shouldn't regulate things, because I should be able to stay over here and say whatever the hell I want, even if it's not true, because this is what makes me happy, right?
Well, in that point, I don't even see any reason to discuss it. You go to the polls and you vote. And if you want to vote for someone who supports that direction, then that is just the basis of this country. And then you're saying majority rules, and it's going to go in whatever direction that is. The interesting caveat to that I find is we're this episode, we're focusing a lot on primarily information sources that do focus in a political nature. Yet, I did some numbers of my own, and 67% of adults in the U.S. are registered to vote. The most voted election, which happened to be a presidential election in 2020, there was 61% of us that voted. So there is
61% of the 67% that are registered. Is that what you're saying?
No, 61% of Americans from what I understand, it was 61%, not of the 67%, 61%. So basically 6% of registered voters didn't vote.
Okay. All right.
So, but you're still talking about a very large number of individuals that don't even
vote,
subscribe to any of these outlets at all. Their tribes are either A, this is just so jacked up, I'm not going to participate.
Yeah.
Or B, what do you mean there's an election day?
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah. What does that even mean?
Right.
That's exactly it.
But either or, it's a large tribe in itself that is completely not represented, and basically by their own admission, they're not represented. It's not
Yeah.
that they're not allowed to do it, they're not.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And look, again, one of the parties is very good about getting disgruntled Americans under their tent,
Yeah,
and one party sucks at it. Right?
yeah.
I mean,
And
that's,
and it's
you
a,
know,
I think they've learned for the party that gets the disgruntled out, it is basic, because I know where I live that there was a time that school elections, we have school board elections, we have school budget elections, and you would get the people out in droves that were older Americans that did not want to even entertain the fact that their taxes might go up because of school budgets,
right, right,
and they would have a significant influence on that,
right.
because they didn't complain between elections. They didn't say, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be terrible. I can't believe you're doing this." They just showed up at the polls and voted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And that that mentality of getting people on board on a couple of issues. You don't need 14 planks
you
on your
you really only
platform,
need one or two.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
And we get them to come out and vote. Now, I'm the byproduct of the messenger is they do want people to be vocal, because again, they want to sell advertising, they need viewership and stuff. But the underlying mentality of that is similar,
yeah.
and you get everybody in your tribe to march in the same direction,
To the
you're
Capitol,
going to have some success.
to the Capitol.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
and and you get the desired result. You
Yeah,
get Glenn Beck being able to retire with a good chunk of change in his
yeah,
wallet.
exactly. Look, I'm gonna be real with you. I was pretty jealous when I found out he was making that much money to talk on the radio every day.
Yeah.
So here's what's funny. I'm not sure if you've been watching the hearings this week, the January 6th hearings, but
No, well,
they,
I catch pieces here and there. I am a big fan of getting firsthand news, and I'm not a big fan of listening to the information outlets tell me what was happening. So I'm a little disappointed I didn't see more of it.
well, I had it on, and yesterday what was interesting is that they actually had a member, the former director of communications or director of marketing or whatever from the Oath Keepers testified. And they actually had a guy who was just a family guy who went to the Stop the Steal rally and then ended up in the Capitol and is now facing prison time, right?
Okay, all right.
They
So
both
these are tribal members of
yes,
similar
that's
tribe
yeah,
that are angry.
yeah. And so
Angry.
what's interesting is that they were both apologetic, if you will, of what they had been a part of.
Now, why?
Because the Oath Keepers guy said that he became their director of communications because he needed to pay bills, he had a family. And
Mhm.
once he got deeper into the organization, he kind of realized that, his words, not mine, that they were white supremacists, and that everything that they had told him about what they were trying to do was not. I mean, it was all based on supremacy, and he said he felt that we were lucky as a nation that we haven't had more Branch Davidian type outbreaks and violent outbreaks, because they see themselves as a trained militia. And he realized that what they were doing is leveraging Trump's message, former President Donald Trump's message, to do what they've always wanted to do, which is, take over the government and take over America for white folks, right?
Okay.
The white man in particular. He left the organization.
So he left his tribe.
He left his tribe because he said he walked into a conversation with them and they were having this conversation about the Holocaust not being real. And he said that was when he decided that, and all this other stuff didn't register for him, but that's when he decided that that he needed to be out because
that news outlet didn't ring well with other information sources he had in the past, right?
Exactly. So that was his story, and he was somehow he ended up, he believed the Stop the Steal thing. He believed in the Stop the Steal rally because all the information sources that they were using were telling them that the election was stolen, and they legitimately believed it. The other guy went to the rally because he believed that the election was stolen because he's like,
it's not fair. It wasn't fair.
Yeah, he was like, I was a supporter of Donald Trump, and I thought that he said that he won the election, that they stole the election, and you know what? This is America. I was going to protect my country, right? I was going to protect my rights.
All right.
So he gets to the Stop the Steal rally, and he said that he's like, we get there, and they were it was a rally, and it wasn't supposed for him, not for a lot of the other guys who brought weapons that were planning, the militias who were actually planning to overthrow the government, that he was just there as a concerned American citizen, right?
Okay.
And there were some reasons how he ended up there. It just so happened that he was there, and they got whipped up in the rally where Trump told them to go hang Mike Pence, right? And so he ran down there thinking that Trump was going with him because Trump was a commander in chief. This was their tribe, and they weren't going to let this happen to America. And now,
plus he said he was going to go up with them.
Right, and and the guy said it. He was like, he said he was going with us, so that's why I went. And now he's looking at the camera, and he's like, I wish I had known that it was all false, that all that information was false. He was like, my life is ruined. I lost my family. I lost my job. I'm going to jail, basically. And he was like, he just wished that he had some different information.
Right. Yep. Again,
right.
The more you know, the safer you are.
Well, I mean, he said he never would have gone to the Capitol had he known that.
Right. He would have been. He would have stayed on the mall as part of the rally and said, "Holy crap! Look what's going on! I think I have a train to catch."
Right. Exactly. And I got to tell you, so I might not have shared this, but I had a player that I coached football at Penn, and he was posting stuff leading up to January 6th about, what was going to happen on that day, and
oh boy,
posted a manifesto, etc. And a number of us were like, dude, like, are you serious? Like, he was dead serious. He was like, hey, you'll see. And then after January 6th, he kind of disappeared for 8 or 9 months, right? And I've reconnected with him, and he's doing fine. But I am pretty sure
he went.
I don't know that he went.
He was there.
I'm not going to say that officially because I don't know. But if I had to bet money, yeah, right. But
he's on a security camera somewhere.
Yes. Exactly. I admit to having looked for him on those cameras myself. But anyway, but he's a smart kid. He was probably covered up. But anyway, to that end, I was amazed now that I've watched the hearings and seen some of the stuff that they were propagating. It blows me away that someone that I know to be an incredibly intelligent, Ivy League educated guy, and people talk about Ivy League as a bunch of liberals, and sometimes I believe that. Like, I couldn't even wrap my head around the fact that was his politics. But this intelligent, warm, fantastic young man had been completely radicalized, right? Completely radicalized. I mean, and when I tell you, Jim, he was gone. When you see the stuff that he had posted on his,
Yeah, just out there.
gone. Yeah, like if you sit down and write a 3-page manifesto about saving America from itself at 20 something years old, and then you're in deep, right?
Yeah, you are. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately that's true. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's not an original thought, it's a regurgitated thought.
Right. Yeah. And so I would think, just back to the whole thing about the information source, like he clearly was locked into tribalized information, right? Because
Yeah.
nothing that I said to him before that made him change his mind or opinion or even viewpoint about what needed to happen on January 6th. Because now that I look back on it, these people are Americans who actually may believe in this, right? But they are being fed information that's totally different from reality.
Yeah. Well, I really, am encouraged, and fortunately, the gentleman you were referring to, who was with the Oath Keepers and now is not, kind of made the turn out of his tribe a little late. But I'd love to discuss next time on triggers that really turn people away from their tribe, and what is the common theme. What are those type of triggers? What actually needs to occur for someone to say, hey, you know what, being part of this tribe is really not working for me? And
well, it's
for
funny.
some, I think it's far easier than others to do the realization and make the change. And there's a lot of people that do the realization and just don't change because the change is too painful.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back at that show, the documentary that we watched.
Yeah, exactly. Right there.
Something, be sweet and obey, or whatever.
Yep.
I mean,
Stay sweet and stay sweet, pray and obey.
Pray and obey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there were people that were, this guy was taking their 14-year-old daughters and having sex with them, and they still didn't think that was a signal that they needed to leave the tribe, right?
Exactly, because that was not as bad as leaving the tribe in their minds.
Because leaving the tribe would keep them from whatever afterlife. Zion, I think, is what he called it. So yeah, give your daughter up if you want to go to Zion. Yeah, it's crazy. Just crazy.
It is out there.
Hey, before you go.
All right, what are you leaving us with tonight?
Since people are tuning in and watching us and don't know a whole lot about us and how we developed this friendship that ultimately led to us deciding that we wanted to share this friendship with the world, which is kind of what we're doing. I got some Our Moments cards from another one of my friends who's a psychiatrist.
Oh,
designed to help
fun. F-U-N. Fun.
It's designed to help couples get to know each other. So I'll just ask you one or two, right? So, and then we'll have you answer it for the people at home. And so I'm just going to pull them randomly from.
Oh yeah, of course, randomly.
All right. The first one is, well, that's not going to work. Which of my body parts is your favorite? Don't really want to know that. So let's pull another one out. All right, here it is. All right, last question. What is your proudest moment from the past 12 months? What is your proudest moment? I'll give you.
That's an easy one for me.
Right.
I've seen both my daughters graduate.
I figured you were going to say that.
Right. That's an easy one. One from grad school and one from undergrad.
That's amazing. And it's a wonderful, which means a couple things. Number one, great job, right? For you and the missus. And the second thing is no tuition payments. Like that's
a big deal.
Right.
That's a big deal.
Because that's a try
That
we
means
all in. Huh?
more taxes the government can take out of my life. I gotta reassess my truck. That's all I know.
That's right. That's right. All right, I'll say
Well,
a couple.
no. See, now I don't need a card. I can probably come up with a question.
Well, that's scary. What's coming out of your brain? That's way scarier.
So,
Right.
so my question to you, to help individuals see into our soul a little bit, is over the past 6 months, what event would you say has changed an opinion you felt was near and dear to your heart?
Oh my goodness. You want my head to explode on camera or what? An event that has changed my opinion that was near and dear to my heart.
Right. It could be, we really thought you were drinking the best bourbon, and then you changed your mind.
Yeah, I would say, I would have to say, Notre Dame's not Notre Dame's. It's got to do something with Notre Dame football, and how now that we're 8 Saturdays away from the first game of the season, and I've been talking about how Notre Dame's a good product, and I don't really care if they're 10-2. They don't have to win a national championship game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now that they've got a new head coach and the rest of the Notre Dame nation is excited and thrilled because they've got this great recruiting class and everybody's all excited and ready and they're all whipped up. And I'm like, but they're probably gonna get blown out by Ohio State in week 1, which made me come to the realization that winning championships does matter. and I think you sent me a text about Notre Dame being 0 for the last 20 bowl games or something like that, right? And so I have come out of my Notre Dame bubble with all the schools joining conferences, and I'm just like, dude, I don't know. I don't know.
I really don't know how this episode could have ended any better.
I'm serious. I don't know. I don't know. I don't.
Oh,
But if they beat Ohio State, if they beat Ohio State, I am driving to your house.
I am changing my phone number.
Right. Exactly.
I may move. I haven't decided yet.
You might have to, because if they beat Ohio State at Ohio State in week 1 of the season, I am driving to your house and running around your yard with some Notre Dame boxers on, with my chest painted green, talking about Go Irish, just for you and your neighbors.
I'll bring the band.
Okay, all 600 of them, right?
All 600 of them. All right, everyone. I hope you found this entertaining and informative, and we really appreciate you taking time out of your world to join us on this podcast. Thank you very much. This is Jim.
And I'm Argal.
Tribalization in America. It's a real thing. Think about it. Have a great day.